But seriously, the first question people ask me, and I won't keep too much of your time because you have some real celebrities coming in a minute. People always ask me why John Edwards on red carpets. I'm always wearing my Edwards shirt. I'm going to events in LA and wearing my Edwards stuff, and you know it's that town's been a little bit enamored with the two Hollywood candidates in the race, and so I always say it's a great question for a guy like me. I'm an independent voter. I was raised Republican, and you know I'm a redneck from Tennessee, but a guy that just was sort of fed up and looking for somebody who was willing to change Washington and address concerns that are Republican concerns as well as Democratic concerns, and the independent vote is so crucial, as you guys know, to be a very independent-minded group of voters. And things like the environment, not just the Iraq War, which is a horrible situation and has to be at the forefront of our minds, but there are a number of issues nobody else was talking about, like nuclear power, which is a big deal to me. I live in the country, and the environment is huge to me. Thank you. And so I started looking at where do these guys stand, and you know, Senator Clinton claims to be agnostic, which I don't really know what that means. I thought it was a religious term, but I guess admitting to not knowing enough, technically by definition. But which is okay. I mean, there's an honesty there. But then Barack Obama, I heard early on, was sort of supporting coal-based fuels, and then stopped talking about the nuclear power, which I thought was odd. And I did a little digging and found out that his third biggest bundler of funds runs nuclear power plants. So I realized, well, maybe that was something I should be aware of. And from the very beginning, John Edwards has been completely opposed to any nuclear power, pursuing any of that, any more funding or research for coal-based. And it was just another way I thought to stop or slow our dependence on Middle East oil, which is driving so much of our policy. And so it's things like that got my attention. But the main thing that got my attention about John Edwards, I'm lucky in my job to get to meet him, because when I joined One Corps, which if you don't know about One Corps, it's a great thing where when all the other candidates are gone and all they have left is a stack of signs, except for whoever wins, John Edwards will have a really grassroots organization of One Corps around the country, making their communities better, and it says a lot about who he is. And that's how I got involved. Then they found out I was on Desperate Housewives through a series of emails, and they asked me to do some more fun stuff like this, and of course I was happy to do it. And after the Las Vegas debate, I got to talk to John a little bit and Elizabeth, and he invited me to ride on the plane with him because he was going to Northern California to talk about the writer's strike. And before I go any further, I want to thank the carpenters. I noticed a sign here. I know there are probably other unions here, but from the bottom of my heart, I know I got a steelworkers shirt on today, which is another really, really important union, and really appreciate the support. And it's nice that you guys recognize that so clearly John Edwards is the candidate for labor. There's no competition. And to keep from just saying that and give you a little story, on the plane back to California, what he wanted to talk about was the writer's strike, because we haven't gotten a paycheck since October, and we're overpaid for what we do, and we're very lucky. And if you save your money, you can tough it out. But it's not the same with our crews and the caterers and the dry cleaners and the bars and restaurants that are empty in Southern California. And those people, the grips and the electric guys and the drivers, they haven't had a paycheck in 3 months through the holidays, and they're out there. The writers are fighting for a very legitimate cause, a very worthwhile cause, and it's almost the definition of why unions exist, and that they're not being paid for things that they created and work that they do. And John Edwards didn't have time on that Tuesday in Southern California to come by, but he squeezed a fundraiser short and left there, came with me, left his jacket in the car, rolled up his sleeves, got out and carried a sign, and he took a megaphone and a sign and walked the picket line with me, and it changed, not only reinforced my opinion of him, but you can see in the faces of those guys, and I know it's hard for you people, most people, and for me to picture writers as being, people struggling for money, but the average writer makes $62,000 a year, which is a good living. It's tough in Southern California, but people picture them as really high-paid, Hollywood types, and all my writer friends have second jobs. And they're out there walking the picket line, and it completely changed. They were energized. They didn't see, no other candidate has been there. I might add, not one. John's been there twice. But no other candidate has bothered to come down and pick up a sign and walk a picket line. And those people were so proud and energized, and it changed that whole attitude down there. And I owe him so much for that. And that told me all I needed to know, as if there was any doubt about John Edwards. So I just wanted to thank you. They obviously running a little bit late, and I don't have anything groundbreaking to tell you. And you're going to love, if you haven't seen John Edwards yet, you're in for a real treat. And I know Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon are here, and it's going to be a fun night. And they're right behind me. But I really, really appreciate you being here, and just give us a couple seconds, and they'll be right with you.